Welcome, everyone, to this deep dive. Today, we're getting into BJ Fogg's tiny habits. The whole idea of making massive life changes all at once, it can feel, well, honestly, pretty daunting.
Oh, absolutely. Exhausting before you even start sometimes.
Exactly. But Fogg offers something different, something much more manageable. The basic idea is hitting those big goals by starting incredibly small.
Like super small.
Yeah. And then figuring out where these tiny little actions fit into your existing routines, and then, crucially, celebrating those wins to build momentum.
It's really about designing habits, not just forcing them. Strategic smallness, you could call it. We're going to look at why things like willpower and motivation, well, they're not always the reliable friends we think they are.
Right. And how just simplifying things can be the key to change that actually sticks.
And we'll give you a really practical method, the tiny habits recipe, basically, that you can use for pretty much any habit you want to build. We'll go through the book chapter by chapter.
Pulling out the key stuff, the actionable insights, and looking at, real life examples to help make it click.
You can actually start doing this stuff.
Let's do it. So chapter 1, the elements of behavior. One thing that jumped out at me right away is how we beat ourselves up when habits don't stick.
Oh, totally. The self-blame game.
Yeah. It's like if you bought some flat pack furniture and the instructions were garbage, you wouldn't blame yourself for messing it up, would you?
Huh. No way. You'd blame the instructions or the company.
Exactly. And Fogg suggests maybe we should do that more with habits. It's often the method, not the person, that's flawed.
That's such a refreshing way to frame it, isn't it? It takes the pressure off. And look, this isn't just Fogg's opinion. He's based this on years of research working with, over 40,000 people?
Yeah, a huge number.
Yeah.
So it's tested. It's a process.
It's not just random advice.
Let's see.
And it tackles that common issue. The fact that just knowing something isn't enough to make you do it.
The information action fallacy. I know I should drink more water, but...
But actually doing it consistently. Different story. We're flooded with information, but turning that info into action, that's the tricky part.
So tiny habits flips that. Focus on the doing first, but make it ridiculously easy.
Make it tiny. Find where it fits the natural place for it. And then nurture it. Celebrate it.
And that tiny part is key, especially if you feel like you have zero extra time. Forget adding an hour-long workout.
Yeah, right. Who has time for that right off the bat?
But what about something that takes, 5 seconds?
Exactly. You bypass all that resistance, that feeling of overwhelm. Use that great example. The Maui habit.
Oh, yeah, the Maui habit.
Yeah.
Simple, right? Recipe is, after I put my feet on the floor in the morning, which everyone does.
Yeah, solid anchor.
I will say, it's going to be a great day.
And the crucial part Fogg adds is feeling it, even just a little bit. That immediate positive reinforcement.
It sounds almost too simple, maybe a bit cheesy.
But that's the point. It's so easy, there's no reason not to do it.
Yeah.
And that anchor, after my feet hit the floor, it's foolproof. It happens every day.
And you can tweak the words, right? Whatever feels genuine, today's going to be okay, or whatever works.
Totally personalizable. The structure is the key. Anchor, tiny behavior, immediate celebration. That little positive feeling.
Okay, that makes sense. Which leads us right into chapter 2, motivation focus on matching. Because we know motivation fades, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's fickle. Think about January 1st versus February 1st.
Exactly. That initial burst just fizzles. He uses the example of Junie and her struggle with sugar.
Yeah, she felt like she lacked willpower, but Fogg reframes it. It wasn't a character flaw.
It was a design problem. Her environment wasn't set up for success.
Right, like trying to avoid snacks when your kitchen counter is loaded with cookies. You're making it harder for yourself.
So Junie started making tiny environmental tweaks, tiny habit changes, and that made the difference.
And this is where Fogg introduces his core model, BMAP. Behavior equals motivation, ability, and prompt, all happening at the same time.
Okay, break that down. BMAP.
So for any behavior B to happen, you need 3 things simultaneously. You need the motivation to do it.
Okay, the desire.
You need the ability A to actually do it easily.
How hard or easy it is.
And you need a prompt, P, a trigger, a cue to remind you to do it now.
Got it. Motivation, ability, prompt, all 3 needed.
Yep. If one is missing or too low, the behavior doesn't happen. He visualizes it with an action line. Think of it as a threshold.
So if you're above the line, the behavior happens when prompted.
Exactly. High motivation and high ability. You're way above the line. Even a subtle prompt works. But if the ability is low, the task is hard. You need massive motivation to get above that line.
Oh, like my grand plan to run a marathon next month with 0 training. Motivation might be there, but ability, Way too low.
Precisely. Below the action line. That's why those huge resolutions often fail. The ability part is underestimated.
So understanding BMP gives us levers to pull.
Yeah.
For bad habits, he talks about the prompt.
Yeah. Often the easiest starting point for stopping a behavior is to remove the prompt, the trigger. Remember the hotel snack basket?
Yes. Instead of fighting the urge, just move the basket, out of sight, out of mind. Remove the cue.
Simple environmental design makes a huge difference. You can also influence motivation, though sometimes that's harder. The airplane seat kicking story.
You're giving the kid the smiley button. Not a demand, but a little nudge using reciprocity. Clever.
Changed the kid's motivation slightly, made stopping more appealing than continuing. And then there's increasing ability, making the good habit easier.
Like Denny showing exactly how to do the quick shower wipe down, breaking it down.
Yeah. Instead of a vague clean the shower, it became specific, easy steps. Lowered the perceived effort, increased the ability. Suddenly, it felt doable.
So BMPP isn't just theory. It gives us practical ways to change things by tweaking motivation, ability, or the prompt.
Exactly. It demystifies behavior. It's a system.
Okay, cool. Let's dive into Chapter 3 then. Ability Easy Does It. This really doubles down on that idea. If change isn't working, look at the design first, not yourself.
It's such an important mindset shift. Stop the self-blame, start the redesign. And Fogg gives us a 3-step process for behavior design here.
Right. Step 1, clarify the aspiration. What's that about?
It's getting clear on the big picture desire, not just lose weight, which is an outcome, but maybe feel healthier and more energetic, which is the aspiration behind it. What do you really want?
So the deeper why. Okay, then step 2.
Explore behavior options. This is brainstorming time. Generate a ton of potential behaviors, tiny ones, that could help you move towards that aspiration. He calls it creating a swarm of behaviors.
A swarm. I like that. No judging ideas yet, just getting them out there.
Exactly. Quantity over quality at this stage. He even suggests magic wanding. If you could wave a magic wand and achieve your aspiration instantly, what tiny behaviors might have gotten you there? Work backward.
Fun. Okay, so you have your aspiration and a big list of possible tiny behaviors. What's step 3?
Match with specific behaviors. This is where you get selective. You find the best behaviors for you right now, the ones most likely to work. He calls these golden behaviors.
Golden behaviors. How do you find those?
Using his tool, focus mapping. You basically plot your brainstorm behaviors on a chart with 2 axes.
Okay.
One axis is impact. How much will this behavior actually help me achieve my aspiration? High impact or low impact?
Makes sense. And the other axis?
Feasibility. How likely am I to actually do this behavior consistently? Super easy or kind of hard? This combines motivation and ability.
Ah, so you're looking for things that are high impact and D, easy to do.
Ideally, yes. Those are the prime golden behaviors. But sometimes something high impact might be harder, or something super easy might have slightly less impact. Fogg uses Mark's goal of reducing stress.
Right. He brainstormed things like playing guitar or leaving work early.
Yeah. First round of mapping, impact. Guitar might be high impact for stress relief, leaving work early. Maybe less impact or even negative impact if it means more stress later.
Okay. Then the second round is feasibility.
Exactly. Can I really see myself picking up the guitar every day, even when I'm tired? Is leaving work early actually possible most days? It's that reality check.
So you're looking for that sweet spot. Decent impact, super feasible.
That's your golden behavior. Something you feel confident you can do even on your worst day. That's the test. If you can do it when you feel awful, you can definitely do it when you feel good.
It forces you to be really honest about what's realistic now. He mentions finding some really obvious golden behaviors for himself that he'd missed for ages.
Happens all the time. We overlook the simple stuff. And he includes the focus mapping exercise in the book for listeners to try.
Definitely worth doing. He also mentions Instagram, how they focused on easy photo sharing and filters. Those were their golden behaviors.
Perfect example. Tapped into a desire, made it incredibly easy. And Sarika's story, too, building a routine from tiny things like 3 breaths or just turning on the stove, shows how small starts work.
Yeah, just getting that initial action going without a big hurdle.
That's the key. Easy does it.
Okay, so we know we need tiny, easy behaviors. But how do we remember to do them? Chapter 4, Prompts, the Power of After.
Exactly. The prompt is the trigger, the reminder. It says, do the thing now. Some prompts are internal, like feeling tired prompts you to yawn. Others we design.
Like Amy putting that Post-it note with her main task on her computer.
Perfect example of a designed context prompt something in your environment. Fogg breaks prompts into 3 types. Person prompts, internal feelings, thoughts, context prompts, environment, and action prompts, existing routines.
And for tiny habits, he really focuses on action prompts, doesn't he?
Yes, they are the powerhouse of the method. Using an existing habit as the anchor for your new tiny habit. It's the after I will recipe.
Explain that recipe again.
Simple. After I existing habit anchor, I will new tiny behavior. So after I pour my morning coffee, I will take one deep breath, or after I brush my teeth, I will floss one tooth.
The existing habit acts as the reminder. You're already doing it anyway.
Exactly. You're hijacking the momentum of an established routine. And Fogg says it's important to pick a good anchor, match the location, frequency, and even the theme, if you can.
So if my new habit is kitchen-related, anchor it to something I already do in the kitchen.
Makes sense, right? Increases the chances you'll remember. And he says experiment. If one anchor doesn't feel right, try a different one. It's not set in stone.
He also talks about the trailing edge of the anchor. What's that?
Being super specific about when the anchor ends. Instead of after I eat breakfast, which is vague.
Right. When is breakfast over?
Try after I put my cereal bowl in the sink, or even after I press start on the dishwasher. That precise moment is a much cleaner trigger for the new habit.
Specificity matters. I like that. And the power move. Start with anchors.
Yeah, flip the process. Look at your day, identify all your reliable existing habits, brushing teeth, putting on shoes, starting the car, and then ask, what tiny habit could I easily slot in right after this?
So you leverage the anchors you already have. Clever.
Very. He also suggests looking at what successful people do. What are their prompts for the habits you want? Learn from them.
Find those natural integration points. And some examples are so creative, like Amy using her ex's annoying behavior as a prompt for self-care.
Yeah. Turning a negative trigger into a positive action. Talk about taking control. And Linda's postcard on the fridge, a context prompt reminding her of her aspiration to be a satisfied mom.
So prompts are critical. They're the signal to act. And action prompts, the after I recipe, are especially powerful for tiny habits.
Nailed it. Reliable triggers are key.
Okay, anchor, tiny behavior. What's the third piece? Chapter 5, emotion creates habits. Celebration.
Yes. This is maybe the most surprising and, Fogg argues, the most critical part for making habits stick long-term. Celebration creates positive emotions, what he calls shine.
Shine. And why is feeling good right after the tiny habit so important?
Because that positive feeling tells your brain, hey, that was good. Do that again. It's how our brains are wired to learn and automate behaviors. He uses the baby learning to walk example.
Oh yeah, the parents cheering and clapping when the baby takes a step.
Exactly. That enthusiastic celebration reinforces the behavior, makes the baby want to try again. It's pure positive reinforcement.
And that applies to us learning new habits too.
Absolutely. Think about the first time you used an app that was just intuitive and delightful, or had a great customer service call. That positive feeling makes you want to repeat the experience. He mentioned Uber's early magic carpet feel.
Right. That positive emotion made people want to use it again.
Right.
It became a habit quickly for some. He also differentiates celebration from rewards or incentives.
Crucially important distinction. Celebration for tiny habits needs to be immediate, within seconds of doing the tiny behavior. That's what creates the neurochemical link.
So promising yourself a treat at the end of the week doesn't count for wiring the habit.
Nope. That's an incentive. Too delayed. The brain needs that instant feedback. Behavior. Good feeling.
And the celebration itself doesn't have to be huge.
Not at all. It needs to be authentic to you. A quiet yes, a fist pump, a little smile, a mental pat on the back, whatever genuinely sparks a little bit of positive feeling for you.
Authenticity is key. Don't force it. But what if it feels weird or hard to celebrate something small? Like Jill struggling to celebrate wiping the counter.
Great question. Her breakthrough came when she connected the tiny act, wiping the counter, to a larger value, creating a calm, nice home for her family. Finding that deeper meaning helped her access the positive feeling, the shine.
So link the tiny act to a bigger aspiration. Makes sense. And then there's that technique for wiring habits fast. The rehearsal.
Oh yeah, the 7 to 10 times rehearsal. You physically go through the sequence. Anchor, tiny behavior, immediate celebration. Do it 7-10 times in quick succession.
It sounds a bit odd, but it's like drilling it into your brain.
Exactly. It rapidly strengthens that pathway, the remembering, the doing, and the positive feeling associated with it. He shares how Linda was skeptical about celebration at first.
But then she embraced it and saw bigger changes.
Totally. And the celebration blitz idea, just making a conscious effort to celebrate everything small for a day or two, can help get you over any initial awkwardness.
It's not just thinking positive, it's actively hacking your brain's reward system.
Precisely. It's a deliberate technique. And the chapter ends with those powerful stories, Mike, Jill, Linda, whose whole sense of self started to shift because of these consistent tiny habits paired with celebration.
From tiny actions to identity change.
Wow.
Which leads perfectly to Chapter 6, growing your habits from tiny to transformative.
Yeah, how do these tiny things scale up? He starts with Sukumar, who struggled with fitness for years, tried everything big, failed every time, until he started with just 2 push-ups after peeing, and later added a 5-second plank. Ridiculously small.
2 push-ups. But it worked.
It worked because it was consistent. He finally broke through the resistance and built momentum. Consistency beats intensity, especially at the start.
That's huge. Fogg also mentions our internal conflicts, like hope versus fear, wanting to dance but afraid of looking silly.
Yeah, those conflicting motivations hold us back. But making the first step tiny and rewarding helps overcome that fear-based inertia. And he frames all this as learning skills of change.
So getting better at changing behavior is a skill we can practice and improve, not just innate talent.
Exactly. That's so empowering. You can get better at this. And he talks about knowing when to add more tiny habits.
How do you know when it's time?
When it feels good, when you feel optimistic, like you're making progress, like Sarika swimming with the current. It shouldn't feel like a constant uphill battle. Build on success.
And uncovering the why behind should-do habits, turning them into want-to-do, like eating veggies.
Yeah, connecting it to your real values, feeling energetic, being healthy for your family makes it intrinsically motivating. Then he gets into troubleshooting. What if a tiny habit still feels hard?
Ask, what's making this hard? Use the ability chain. I love the cucumber example.
Right. Wanting to eat sliced cucumbers daily, tiny habit seems easy. But the effort of washing, peeling, slicing every time, that was the barrier. Low ability at that moment.
So the fix involves redesigning the environment or process.
Often, yes. Reduce the friction. Wash and slice the cucumbers the night before. Put them front and center in the fridge. Make the easy thing the easiest thing.
He suggests questioning tradition, maybe investing in tools to make it easier, like the super fridge.
Yeah. Making the healthy food super accessible and the less healthy stuff harder to get to. Major environment redesign led to major eating changes for them.
And this links to identity. As you succeed in one area, like Sukumar getting fitter, it can spill over.
Definitely. You start to see yourself differently. I'm the kind of person who exercises. That identity shift fuels further change.
He gives tips for embracing that new identity, finishing the sentence, I'm the kind of person who, hey, going to related events, learning the lingo.
Aligning your self-perception with your actions, and always remembering it's a skill, practice is needed, mistakes are okay, learn and adjust.
Okay, so that's building good habits. What about ditching bad ones? Chapter 7, untangling bad habits, a systematic solution.
Right, the downhill habits. The ones that feel easy to do but hard to stop. First step, Fogg emphasizes, get specific.
And no vague goals like stop procrastinating.
Exactly. Too broad. What specific behavior are you doing when you procrastinate? Checking email, scrolling social media, watching cat videos. Identify the actual habit.
Like his example of sweaters on the dresser. Don't just say stop that. Figure out the sequence that leads to the sweater ending up there.
Pinpoint the steps. Then, target the easiest step in that chain to disrupt first. Get an early win.
Makes sense. And his master plan for stopping habits starts with the prompt again.
Usually, yes. Reverse engineer it. What triggers the bad habit? Can you remove or change that prompt? If you always snack while watching TV, maybe the prompt is turning on the TV or sitting on the couch.
So change the prompt, or maybe make the bad habit harder to do. Increase the effort.
That's another strategy. Make it less convenient. Delete the app, move the cookies to a high shelf, add steps between the prompt and the unwanted behavior.
He mentions demotivators, but advises caution.
Yeah, punishment or self-criticism often backfires. Focus on making the unwanted behavior harder or less appealing and the desired behavior easier. And if it's still too hard,
Scale back. Aim smaller. Reduce frequency instead of stopping cold turkey.
Yeah.
Like Mike trying to get his son Chris to clean the coffee maker.
right, nagging didn't work. But breaking clean the maker down into tiny, specific, easy steps, that worked. Same principles apply.
Make it easy, even for stopping bad habits or getting others to do things.
Which brings us nicely to Chapter 8, how we change together, applying these ideas in groups, families, teams.
Because our social world massively influences us.
Hugely. And Fogg's maxim, #1 for group change, is key. Help people do what they already want to do.
Don't try to force things people are resisting.
Generally, no. Find the overlap between what the group wants or needs and what individuals are already motivated towards. Start there. If one person wants a tidier office, start with that desire. Change can spread.
And you don't need to be the boss to use these ideas.
Not at all. It's about understanding motivation and ability within the group. Facilitating, not dictating. Ethics are important here, of course.
Definitely. Be upfront, act respectfully. He gives ninja tips,
Yeah.
like clarifying the goal together.
Yes, and brainstorming options together, magic wanding or a swarm of behaviors for the group, even doing a group focus map to find collective golden behaviors.
And the tip for helping a spouse exercise. Not nagging, but asking what makes it hard.
The discovery question. Focus on removing their barriers, increasing their ability. It's collaborative problem solving.
And scaling good behaviors in a group. Find out what prompts the people already doing it successfully.
Yeah. If some people always submit reports on time, figure out their prompt and see if you can replicate that for others. Make this successful way easier for everyone.
And celebration works in groups too, recognizing success.
Absolutely crucial for reinforcing group norms. He talks about the power zone model for feedback sincere, focusing on strengths, building people up.
Positive reinforcement. But what about troubleshooting group issues, like that company walking program nobody attended?
Same hierarchy. Check the prompt first. Is there a clear reminder? Then check ability. Is it easy to participate? Only then look at motivation. Or maybe you need to rematch with a different activity the group actually wants more.
Find the friction point. And Amy helping her daughter Rachel with homework by teaching her the skills.
Brilliant. Empowering Rachel to design her own solutions. It shows these skills are transferable, teachable. He even applies it to nurses needing breaks or water in stressful hospitals.
So it's really about building better systems and relationships, helping everyone succeed together.
That's the core of it, making positive change easier for everyone involved.
Which brings us to the final chapter, Chapter 9. The small changes that change everything. And this one starts very personally for Fogg.
Yes, with the incredibly sad story of his nephew Garrett's sudden death. It's deeply moving.
Puts everything in perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Life's fragility.
It really does. And it highlights his sister Linda's resilience, but also provides context for Fogg's own drive. Why sharing this method feels so important to him, almost like an ethical duty.
Yeah, a way to give people tools to navigate challenges and build better lives. He circles back to that core message. Small changes compound. They really can change everything.
Linking it back to those skills of change, it's not just about flossing one tooth. It's about learning how to become the kind of person you aspire to be, step by tiny step.
It's about intentional self-evolution, designing your own growth.
And the potential isn't just personal. Better habits can lead to better families, better workplaces, maybe even a slightly better world. It starts small.
He leaves us, the listeners, with a final thought, right?
Yeah, an invitation, really. To consider one small thing, one tiny habit you could start experimenting with today based on these ideas. To just try it and see what happens.
Discover that power of tiny for yourself.
Exactly. Take that first tiny step.
Well, that feels like a good place to wrap up our deep dive into tiny habits. Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration. We really hope you got some useful nuggets out of it.
Yeah, hope it sparks some ideas. Key things to remember. Motivation is unreliable, so design for it. Make habits tiny and easy to start. Find good prompts, especially using that after I recipe. And don't forget to celebrate immediately.
That celebration piece is huge. And remember, behavior change is a skill you can practice and get better at. It's not magic, it's design.
So maybe take a second now, think about one tiny thing from our chat that resonated. What's one super small action you could try? Just experiment.
Explore the ideas. Maybe share your journey if you feel like it. It's powerful stuff.
Absolutely. Well, until our next deep dive, it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me. Thanks for listening.